Okay, Mr. Gainer, would you call the roll?
Mr. Coble.
Here.
Ms. Pepler.
Here.
Mr. Register.
Here.
Mr. Silverman.
Here.
Mr. Zucker.
Here.
Okay, I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes from August 5th, August 11th, and August 19th.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion, corrections? Mr. Gainer, would you call the roll?
Mr. Coble.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Register.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna do some awards and recognitions, and I want to just take a moment and acknowledge our 2012 graduate, Jeffrey Golden, won the Sunday's Best Award 2 days ago. And we all should be very proud. I think that we should, I'm not sure exactly what we have on the website now, but we should have that up. And we hope to be in touch with him and have him come and entertain us one day, right? But anyway, that's a great, it was a great thing. I hope people had a chance to see it. It was really a good show. I mean, I probably wouldn't normally watch that show, but I thought he did an excellent job. And I hope you all saw it. If not, I think they're going to run it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so that puts us at a point of other recognitions. I think, Dr. Dixon, you have some people you want to recognize, right?
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Tonight, we'll begin our recognitions by paying tribute to this year's new master teachers. So we have Director of Human Resources, Paul Lombardo, is here to present these teachers and say a word about their accomplishments. Mr. Lombardo?
Thank you, Dr. Dixon, and good evening, everyone. We have tonight 3 accomplished professionals receiving recognition for the Master Teacher. The Master Teacher designation means that a teacher demonstrates excellence inside and outside the classroom through consistent leadership and focused collaboration to maximize student learning. She continuously strives for distinguished teaching and continued professional growth. She also understands the content of her subject matter, is sensitive to diverse student needs, and sets the bar high for students in an environment that allows them to achieve. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on each of the winners of the Master Teacher. Tiffany Jordan Shaw, are you here tonight? Okay, unable to make it with us. But Tiffany earned her bachelor's degree from John Carroll University and master's in education from Cleveland State University. She's been a teacher in the Cleveland Heights University Heights School since 2002. Teaching has always been her passion, and for the last 12 years, she has enjoyed teaching 8th grade mathematics at Roxborough. Our next one is Christine Smirtle. Are you here tonight? Okay. Christine began teaching in 2006 and joined the CHUH family at Roxborough Middle School in 2010, where she received 7th grade math and science. For the past 4 years, she has coached 7th and 8th grade volleyball, served as a representative for the district data team, and brought in special programs from the Cleveland Clinic and Metro Parks. She aims to ensure the success of all our students and build strong, positive relationships. Christine holds a bachelor's in middle school education and a master's in education administration with a K-12 principal licensure. Our last one is Jennifer Thomas. Are you here this evening? Yes. Excellent. Thanks for being here. Oh, she gets a clap. Jennifer has taught varying age levels for a total of 22 years, and all at Roxborough Elementary. She holds a bachelor's in psychology, elementary certificate, and a master's in educational research. Jennifer also serves as a mentor in the College Now program, which provides support for at-risk college students. And she has been involved in the summer reading Books A Go-Go program for several years. Jennifer, can you please come up and accept this certificate? There you are. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And please come up here for a picture, okay? No.
For the star.
Ron will join
By
you.
myself?
Now, that's just not nice.
And a round of applause for all our recipients. I'll make sure they get these this week. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Paul. So also under recognitions tonight, our communications team won 3 National Communications Awards. I would like to ask our Director of Communications, Angie Shaker, her Administrative Assistant, Camilla Ziss, Public Relations Liaison, Cynthia Barnes Booker, and our Parent Community Liaison for Heights High, Joy Henderson, to please come forward. Okay. The National School Public Relations Association recently recognized our district with the highest honor, an Award of Excellence for our website. These 4 ladies also received an Award of Merit for the district's updated print newsletter, which is mailed to all district households 3 to 4 times a year, and receive an honorable mention for the district's weekly electronic newsletter. Congratulations to the ladies. We're very proud and appreciative of all the work that you do. There's certainly a lot of information to communicate in this district and multiple ways of communicating. Thank you for not only staying on top of all these communication channels, but also leading the way for many other school districts. Mr. Register and I will now present you with our plaque and stand for a photo.
Come there or here?
Well, which is easier? Okay.
Take this one. We'll Photoshop it.
It's a virtual class. Easy.
Yeah, they can Photoshop it. That's right. We'll fix it in post.
It's an e-plaque.
E-plaque.
Someone did this as I have.
Congratulations.
We have a new website that will be launched September 8th, and Ms. Shaker is going to come up a little later to give you some information regarding our new website. So thank you again. All right.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to the statement, the public address, I want to recognize Board Member Cal Zucker, and he has a couple of things he'd like to say.
Thank you,
Right.
Mr. Register. I had, after the last meeting, I think as many of you know, we decided we would have public comment at the last meeting. And during the public comment, I had thought of saying something, and I was upset with myself for not saying it. You know, as everyone up here knows, you know, you use discretion sometimes, and sometimes it's the better part of valor, and sometimes you make a mistake by using that discretion. In the course of some of the comments, one of the comments that was made particularly, and I've seen some in writing as well, was a disparaging remark about some of our administrators, which I feel is not only unwarranted but unwelcome in the boardroom. I think that we all understand emotion. We all understand that there's a lot of very important decisions being made, and that there's a lot of disagreement among people about the decisions. But please remember, just because you disagree with the decision does not mean it was not well thought out. It does not mean that it was not something that has basis in facts that maybe you don't even have. And so what disturbs me is, for one, is attacking any of our administrators or any of our personnel. And I'm going to ask that anyone who comes to this podium from now on refrains from that, number one. Number two is, I will tell you that my opinion is exactly the opposite of what was stated. I think that our administrators have done a terrific job on a tremendously difficult project. They put their hearts and souls into this. They put parts of their lives on hold, and they are extremely intelligent individuals who really put a lot into this. So I just want to make sure that that was all recognized. And on a personal note, I know some of the people who've said some of these things and who've written some of these things, and frankly, you're all better than that. And I would encourage anyone who let their emotions get the best of them to find the person that they said something negative to or about, find them and apologize to them. Because it really will make you feel better, and it will make the process go better as well. So, thank you, Mr. Register.
Thank you, Cal.
Okay, thanks, Cal. And just a note, Cal represents the sentiments of the board, so he's not isolated in what he had to say.
Thank
So,
you, Mr.
thanks, Cal.
Seaman, yeah.
We have no requested audience, but we have some people who want to make some statements. And I think the first person who would like to is Penny Neeson from Canterbury PTA Updates, Thank Yous, and Invite. And you have to introduce who you have with you.
Hi, my name's Penny Neisen. This is
Eric,
Cyrus.
could you get the mic for her?
Hi, my name is Penny Neisen. This is Cyrus Webster. It's not the first time you've met him, but it's the first time you've seen him smile. So I just want to take a minute to say some thank yous and give some updates about our community and also extend an invitation for those of you who may not have seen it. First of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for keeping in mind some of the requests that our PTA made to take a second look at the approach to staggered start this year, as well as the academic calendar. We saw that some of the concerns that we raised this time last year were noted by the committees that handle those schedules. In our particular school, community feels that the adjustments that were made this year fit what our parents need a little bit better than what was done in the past. So we wanted to say thank you. We're also saying thank you again for our fantastic principal, as well as the student or the teachers at our school. We have an excellent staff at our school, and we're entering our second year with Dr. Wigton, who's a fantastic leader, and we really appreciate it. Things are going very well at Canterbury this year. We have a warm start. Our introduction night for new families was very well attended this year. We had over 35 new families come to attend that event when we normally have less than 8. And we've also secured about 150 PTA volunteer forms, many of whom people have checked interest in tutoring our students. So we're really excited about the community that we're growing at Canterbury, and we wanted to say thank you for your part in helping make that happen. We also wanted to extend an invitation. We have an ice cream social this Thursday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. I sent an email invitation to, I think, almost all of the administrators up at the Board of Education. Please come. We also invited our council members and members of the emergency response team. One of the things that we're learning is that our parents are very interested in connecting with leaders of the community, but they struggle, just like everyone, to balance those desires with the demands of everyday life. So if you're able to stop by, we have some ice cream treats and a friendly community that would like to just shake your hand and get to know you a little better. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your work. Okay, we have Joan Sproul. Follow up to questions and thanks. Oh, this is going to get contagious. We get thanks.
Yes. So first I wanted to say that, and I saw Kristen Hughes tonight, but people are communicating about my question related to the recycling at the athletic events in the new stadium. So there's a team of people, of citizens who are willing to help and want to work on it. And Kristen says she has, there's something we need to meet and discuss, but it's being addressed, so that's great. I just wanted to find out when I could receive a response to my other question, which was about, who's overseeing the use of materials, and making sure that the materials and such that we use in our buildings are safe and non-toxic for our students, that they're not going to exacerbate learning problems, health problems, et cetera. So I would just like to have that followed up upon at some point. And then last time I couldn't talk about it, but I gave you all information about the CDC food allergy guidelines, and I'm happy to say that I will be meeting with a team of people in the administration Friday, that they've already been working on it, and I'm thanking them for following up. But I wanted to read that letter that I gave to you just for the public record about why this is important and that it needs to be addressed. And this is from Michael Spiegler, who's Vice President of Education for the Food Allergy Research and Education Organization. And it says, "Dear school leader, today 1 in 13 children has food allergies, or roughly 2 in every classroom. Nearly 40% of these children have already experienced a severe or life-threatening allergic reaction. In response to this emerging epidemic, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, in 2013 published national guidelines for managing food allergies designed to help schools avoid, recognize, and treat allergic reactions while ensuring that students with food allergies are safely included in school activities. Important highlights from the guidelines include: 1, food allergies may constitute a disability under the law. This is important because schools cannot exclude children with food allergies from activities, for example, birthday celebrations, classroom parties, because of their food allergies. 2, the emotional toll of exclusion, bullying, stigma, and fear can cause significant emotional distress. It is important to consider the physical and emotional toll on children with food allergies. 3, every child at risk for anaphylaxis should have an individual written accommodation plan. In public schools, this plan will often be a Section 504 plan. In private schools, a similar written plan will serve the same purpose. 4, a child's accommodations plan, 504 plan or other written plan, has 2 parts. A, the accommodations or services needed for the child to be safely included in school activities. B, the emergency care plan that explains how to treat an allergic reaction. 5, the recommended practices for reducing the risk of exposure on pages 41 to 43 include specific recommendations for accommodating food allergic students in the classroom, cafeteria, field trips, extracurricular activities, and beyond. A few examples of accommodations for food allergic students include: avoid the use of identified allergens in class projects, parties, holidays and celebrations, arts, crafts, science experiments, rewards, cooking, and snacks. Have immediate access to epinephrine autoinjectors, for example, EpiPen or Auvi-Q. Train teachers, bus drivers, and other school staff to recognize and treat allergic reactions and anaphylaxis, a life-threatening allergic reaction. Students with food allergies develop a sense of security when accommodations such as these are put into place to ensure their physical and emotional well-being. For more information, please visit www.foodallergy.org/CDC or just foodallergy.org. And I just want to quickly make the note, yes, my son is unusual. He has multiple life-threatening food allergies, and it makes life at home and out and about and at school complicated. But I didn't bring these guidelines to your attention for his sake. I brought them to your attention for the sake of all of the children. He has 5 children in his classroom with food allergies this year. Throughout the district, every level. And the more we educate our students, knowledge is power, as you all know. It's what we're about, right? So the more we educate them about it and they understand, the better they can take care of their fellow students. And I feel like I was going to say one other thing, but that's probably enough. So, one little fact. Food allergies, I think in children, but it may be just in general, have increased by 50% between 1997 and 2011. The number. So it's, a lot of people don't realize that, and there's theories behind it, but the more we reduce our exposure to toxins and pollutants and promote health, the better off we'll all be. But this is why this is important. Thanks.
Well, we want to thank you for keeping this in front of us, and we know that there are those questions out there that we haven't quite answered, but we are paying attention to them, and we really do appreciate the fact that you are staying with it. It's an important thing for all of us. So we'll make sure to ask the administration to get back with you. Yeah, but I mean, the issue of other things, that's other.
Oh, the other.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She's the toxic materials.
So, okay. I just want to take 1 second. I think that I saw Bob Ivory in the audience. Did I? Yes. I did. Bob is working, well, I don't know the national organization, but the county commissioners decided to give us a grant of $170,000 to deal with closing the achievement gap, and we will be acting on that sometime in the near future, hopefully. So we're glad to see Bob. We're glad that Bob feels like he's part of us and that he's going to be working with us. So we're really looking forward to that. And I think it's a really important thing. So when we come time to accepting the grant, we'll hopefully invite you back, Bob, and maybe you'll have a couple of things to say to us at that point. Would you want to say something now? Okay. Well, you can say something if you like. Come on up and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're all about.
Reminds me of my Boy Scout days where it's be prepared. Good evening, Cleveland Heights. Had a robust discussion last week with our gracious superintendent and Councilman Anthony Harrison to get some updates on the measure. I think this, on the September the 9th, the measure is on the agenda for the Office of Budget Management. And that simply just shifts the dollars over to the district so we can kind of move full steam ahead. The other districts are doing nicely. We had great openings of school, Garfield Heights, Maple Heights, Warrensville Heights, and now Cleveland Heights will join this model. So very soon we look forward to engaging, having dialogue with the administration here, get that linkage coordinator on board, and looking forward to a very exciting school year working with your students and your families. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Dixon, next item, several items, is part of your superintendent's report. You wanna
Yes,
share?
we want to approve the Cleveland Heights summer school graduates. We had
Yes, we do.
14.
Okay, we need a separate item on that. I'll accept a motion to approve the 14 summer school graduates, and
So moved.
Okay.
I'll second.
yeah, and it was nice to see that. It was really, but I think Nancy said this was the shortest graduation didn't you?
I don't know, it just was really surprising, but they seem to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun. So, anyway, any conversations, discussions? Mr. Gaynor?
Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Register.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
Mr. Coble.
Yes.
Okay, item D2 is approval of field trips for the MSAN students going to Ypsilanti, Michigan, scheduled for October 14th through the 18th, and the Roxborough Middle School 8th graders traveling to Williamsburg, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. on November 12th through the 14th. And we can accept those at one motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions?
I just think it's really nice that they'll be traveling for the MSAN trip, traveling with the kids from Shaker. I think that's a nice thing for kids who live so close together to get to know each other a little bit more. I know they do some things together with the MSAN group anyway, but I think it's good. Plus, it saves us all some money. Right, Scott?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Mr. Gaynor, would you call the roll?
Mr. Register.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
Mr. Coble.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Dixon.
Okay, so next we're going to have Angie Shaker is going to come up and show us our new website that we're launching on September 8th. So she's going to kind of give us a glance of what it looks like. It's going to be exciting. She and her team have done an excellent job putting it together.
Oh, thank you, Superintendent, Dr. Dixon and board. Yes, we are very eager to get this launched. We've been working, it's been in development the entire summer, and it's actually coming together pretty quickly. So this is the new homepage. You can see we have the drop-down menus. It'll tell you, give you an overview of our school district. The different departments can be found under here as well. The superintendent's page, our schools. I'll click on Cleveland Heights High first. And now you'll see what's different about this website is that it all of the schools have their own photo rotation now. It was always a big deal for all of the schools to get their photo and caption on the homepage of our website, and it just never seemed to balance out. No matter how strategic we would be, there was always like, oh, there's more for this school than our school. And so to solve that issue, now each school has its own, which is very exciting, and they can have as many photos as they would like. But just to back up a little bit, the reason why we have a new website is because, well, 4 years ago, we launched the other website, and we had a wonderful web developer, and here we are again winning a national award, the best that you can get, the Award of Excellence. And so the pressure is really on right now for this to be a great website. But the other website, we just started to outgrow it. We have thousands and thousands of pages. This is a school district that likes its communications and at every level. And so we just had so many pages, it just started to slow down. And our web developer was really amazing with different businesses, but for a school district such as ours, it really had a hard time keeping up. And also they stopped their email engine running that, which is our e-newsletters. So we had to go to Constant Contact on a temporary basis. But now we are with this new web developer, and it's called eSchoolView, and they do school districts all around the country, and they're a leader in it. So this will be much faster and much easier to use in terms of the content manager for all of our schools to keep the website updated as well. It's much more user-friendly. And we think we've enhanced the navigation significantly with these drop-down menus, and also on the homepage you'll see, let me click back here. And just so you know, whenever you want to get back to the homepage, you can click on the logo. For those of you who don't know that. And then, so when you see our district photo, by the way, banner photo, these are going to stay in place for the long term. We'll just change them out quarterly, and there'll be more professional photos. So we won't be putting up individual building photos on our homepage anymore. Okay, shrink this. There we go. Does that look better? You can see it better? Thank you, Camilla. And then here on the left, we have, these are called touts. So these are what, looking at our Google Analytics, and we've also worked with focus groups in designing this website. And so the most popular links are here on the left. People like to look at the calendar, the menus, bus schedules. We found that people aren't looking at us by departments, they're looking at us by the services that we provide. So we tried to set it up that way. Tiger Praise is something new that we don't have anything up there yet. We're still loading pages, but Tiger Praise is a place where anybody can give a compliment or a shout out to a student, a teacher, an administrator, a parent volunteer, and it doesn't have to be that formal, and it can be something really quick, but yet very nice. Of course, the athletics page, and something that Camilla, my administrative assistant, has been working particularly hard on is this, the Create the Future button, which, I know our Facilities Accountability Committee has said, hey, we're just having trouble with there's so much information. We want it to be in one spot and continuously updated. And that was hard to do when we were updating the website, the blog, and the Create the Future page. So now it's all going to live here. So it has its own rotation, so we can continue to show beautiful photos, our new athletic field, the latest rendering of the high school, captions. All of the news will be here in one place. And for the information that needs to stay in place for the long term, it can be, again, found on this left-hand navigation bar. So we think it's going to be much easier for everybody to learn about what's going on and keep up with it. Yep. And then again, the drop-down menus, we have parents and students page where people can look up our Tiger expectation and guidelines, safe school helpline, testing information, new and future families, registration information, community, our community and partnerships. They're on this drop-down menu. Here's the Alumni Foundation. And this is the For Staff tab. They can go right into, get payroll information, staff email, Common Core videos and resources for our staff. Our photo galleries can be found under Photos and Videos. And you just click. Let's take Convocation Day, for example. And you can watch, our recent welcoming of our staff, which was a fun and exciting day. It's always fun to look at. Contact information, that's where you'll find the staff directory, web pages, or department pages as well. And our district calendar, our interactive calendar. Oh, again, our Facebook page is over here now. So things are going to be moved around, so it's going to take people a little while to adjust. We did share this beta site with our PTA leadership as well, and we got a lot of great input, so we're still adjusting it as we go. But I think people are pretty pleased with what they're seeing so far. But district calendar, upcoming events can be found over here. Infinite Campus sign-in. Pretty soon under the staff directory, we're going to have teacher web pages. So it'll improve the communication between our teachers, parents, and students about upcoming tests. There will be a calendar, just class project information, field trip information can all be found there as well. So we're really excited about it. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, but if you have any questions, and I'll send you this link as well so you can click around and explore. But the plan is to launch on Monday.
I'm interested only in one thing, and that is what the Board of Education is doing. So where do I find that?
Oh, of course. Okay, you go under About, click on Board of Education, and there you are. Yes.
Oh, they got meeting videos and everything.
Yes, your board meeting documents, board policies, contact information.
Angie, do you want to tell us from the Google Analytics how many times anybody's actually visited that page? Because I don't think Ron wants to hear it.
It every day.
It's pretty significant. It really is. So, yes, we're not taking it down anytime soon.
Where are the agendas? On the board meeting info?
Pardon me?
Where are the agendas? Like tonight's agenda, where would you?
Well, it would go under board meeting information. Let me see. Okay.
Right down.
There we go here. See? Like January 7th minutes. Let me
Okay.
click on that. Yeah, it's all there.
Do president roll call.
Evidence of your work.
Okay,
Okay?
good.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you
Nice
very
job.
much.
everyone
And
involved.
thank you again to my team. Couldn't do this without them.
Okay.
Okay, now we have Dr. Selico will come up with a CTE program update.
Good evening, Board, Dr. Dixon, Mr. Gaynor. I'm here this evening at the request of Dr. Dixon to give an update on career tech education, and I'm not sure how much of it will be an update as much as it might be some background information and just kind of getting up to speed on the work that we've been doing lately. So I'd just like to start by talking a little bit about the current program offerings that we have, and I put the handouts for all of you so you can see it a little better, and I provided a larger handout for a couple of the slides because they're small. But first off, I will not read to you because I know you can take a glance at that list, but these are the current program offerings that we have. And the reason that 12.8 is there is because there's been a lot of discussion around the question about how many programs we have to offer. So in order for us to maintain our status and to stay a part of the Tri-Heights Consortium and to maintain our standing, we need to offer at least 12 programs, and I'm going to show you on a subsequent slide of the categories, and that's the 8. So there are 8 categories of career fields that we need to choose from. So of those 8, we need to come up with 12 programs, and those are our list of 12 programs. The reason you see supplemental programs is these 3 that are listed, the Family and Consumer Sciences, the Career-Based Intervention, and the Job Training Program, are all they're part of the CTE program, but they're not necessarily part of the program in the sense of the 13 that are needed. So the reason, in speaking with Mr. Hobbs as recently as this afternoon, he was explaining to me the reason for the supplemental programs is it often will come up when we have audits that are conducted. Questions will arise such as, what are you doing for special needs students? What are you doing for students with extenuating circumstances such as a pregnancy, or maybe they're in trouble with the penal system or something that relates to that. So these are three things that we offer that we can address those questions when they come up in what we are doing for those students. So that's one of the reasons for the supplemental programs. Now, the 8 programs that I was referring to, the career fields, we need to pick, again, from this list, which I believe was 16, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and so we needed to pick at least 8, and so we have done that from that field. And again, you can see the list there. I won't read that to you. This slide is, I apologize for it, but there's no other way. We tried many ways to embed this, but I gave you a different version, so hopefully it's a little bit cleaner for you. But it looks at the enrollment trends. So we're starting in 2012-13, and then 13-14, 14-15. And so the reason for the 2 columns, and I put the header on the second column just so you can keep it straight in terms of which year is which. But you can see what our enrollment has done, which is in 12-13 overall, we've had 340 students, and as of this year, we had a large dip, and then now we're back up to where we were 2 years ago. But if you look at the classes, we broke this down. We looked at it in the aggregate, and then we also looked at it by class, and so you can see where we have some interest and where we have some concerns. With those classes that the enrollment is low. So we've been looking at this and asking some hard questions and trying to ascertain some answers. But one thing I do want to point out is in the engineering technology in 14-15, you see 3 zeros in that column. Yes. So those were the classes that were cut this year. We had a teacher resign and we did not fill those classes. The enrollment in those were 2, 5, and 7, I believe, prior to us cutting in. So we had the counselors meet with those students to reassign them and to find a similar field or something else that would be of interest. We were trying to work some things out to help those students that had the interest in engineering.
Excuse me, most of the other ones are sort of, the titles are self-explanatory. So, I mean, cosmetology, I can figure out what cosmetology is. Engineering technology, what was the curriculum? What do they do in that class, I guess, is the best way.
They're all related to engineering, and I have the details over there, but, and I can get you that information.
Okay.
They actually, they are broken down and they give an explanation of each one of the courses, but
Okay.
it's basically your entry-level course into
Okay.
engineering.
Gotcha.
So you can see that there, and then, yes? Mhm.
I'll do a follow-up on that because I guess, given that we're talking STEM, I'm wondering, shouldn't we have students coming up as we put emphasis on STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics? It looks like this would be a natural place as we engage them in the lower grades, that this would be a natural place that we would expect growth. I'm thinking, I mean, I don't know if there's a real comment there, but I think that because of where we are this year, I'm not sure that we should be ready to abandon the program. I would be heartbroken, I have to say that, and I would want us to really explore what we're doing if we're saying that our kids, are not selecting this. I would really want to begin to figure out what we're doing in the lower grades to try to at least get their interest there, because I think there's a lot happening there, and if we're going to have schools that we talk about, or we're going to talk about this whole area, it just doesn't feel good that we get to high school and we don't have any of these students. So anyway,
Yeah, and I'll talk about that further on in the presentation.
okay.
So I'm not sure if this is much as process as it is just essentially what we've been doing over the last month or so. We felt, and we continue to feel a sense of urgency in regards to making decisions about the programs. We heard from the community, we've heard from the working group, we've heard from the board asking a number of questions. So this is sort of in response to all of that. So what we've been doing over the last few weeks, and keeping in mind that we've had a change in personnel. We have a new superintendent, of course, we have a new high school principal, and we have a new director of curriculum instruction, which are all three key positions in this. So I felt as though I was a kind of a lone duck over the summer, just sitting and waiting for everyone to come back and everyone to get into place. So I was just acting as a placeholder and trying to hold down the fort until I can get some new blood. And as soon as they came in, I pretty much pounced and said, okay, this is our charge and what we need to get on. So we've been meeting, meaning Mr. Womack and Mr. Ross and Mr. Hobbs and Dr. Dixon. And so what we've been doing is spending time reviewing our current programs and their enrollment. Just as we showed you, we all share the same concerns about certain classes, engineering being one with low enrollment, but there are others. We also have examined the work of the CTE working group, and they have a Dropbox that they shared, and so we've gone in there and I've looked at their documents and their research. They recently provided very thorough reports on both manufacturing and culinary arts for us to review, and other districts and what they're offering in their consortiums, and so we appreciate the work that they have done. And we've also taken into consideration the programs and course offerings that other districts have. So looking at, it's hard to compare apples to apples when you have districts that are pulling from 13 districts. The most comparable program that I have found is probably that of Maple Heights, just in the sense that they have 8 programs and they have 2 districts, but it's similar to what we're offering. So I've spoken with Bruce over there. He's a peer, a colleague of mine, and we've had some conversations about what he's doing over there. We also have looked at the cost associated with programs. Now, there's some further analysis that needs to be done. Dr. Dixon has asked us to look a little bit closer at cost, and engineering is certainly one of those that we'll talk about in a moment, but there's a great cost associated with that, as well as there is with culinary, for example. Just a brief comment on funding. I'm not the person to go into detail about this. So we have a Perkins grant that many of you are familiar with in the tune of $258,000. And we also get funding from the state, and we also, on top of that, get tuition. But I'm not prepared to go in depth. Mr. Gaynor and I had a conversation this afternoon, and he will be doing a comprehensive analysis, and we'll be sharing that with you in the upcoming month or two once he puts that all together. So we'll have many more details on that. The consortium, I had to do a little research on this because I've not been a part of the Tri-Heights consortium that consists of Warrensville Heights, Cleveland Heights, and Shaker Heights. But there are 2 things that I learned about, and I know I did attend one meeting one time, but that was probably when I first arrived, and so it was probably all a blur at that time, but I do remember attending it. But that is the Consortium for the Business Advisory Committee meetings, and those are led by Mr. J. Hobbs. And people that attend those meetings are superintendents, board members, which are also community members, business leaders, and political leaders. And so they had 2 meetings last year. And then there were also meetings for the superintendents and board members. And so that's where Dr. McDaniel had attended, along with the other 2 superintendents. And that was the first year of implementation, according to Mr. Hobbs. And the topics that when I spoke with Dr. McDaniel and asking her opinion, as well as Mr. Hobbs, it ranged, the topics in discussion ranged from kind of CTE 101, if you will, to funding and enrollment. And one of the things, in speaking with Dr. McDaniel, that she shared was that there were some concerns from other superintendents about our low enrollment and the cost associated, because there may have been some dialogue around tuition and how much districts are contributing. But when you look at if you do look at our enrollment and do a teacher-student ratio, it does stand out. If you look at it overall, it could be of concern, and so it may look like we're overstaffed, but it's really more of an issue of us having low enrollment in classes is really what it amounts to. So there's been some discussion around that. So we've been, some things are really kind of in your face, and you kind of can't overlook in discussing just overall needs and recommendations for the program. And one of the things that we I think the consensus is that we certainly need to do a better job in marketing and advertising our programs. So that we've identified as a need, and that is something that is urgent and that needs to be taking place. We also have had a large discussion around the placement of students. And what I mean by that is ensuring that we are putting the right students in the right courses and that we're advising them appropriately. I never want to set a child up for failure. And you can easily do that if you place them into a class where they may not have an interest or they may not have the skills for. Some of these are very rigorous courses that if you don't have the foundations, you're going to fail. And we don't want that for our students. And so we need to have we need to do a better job with advising our students. And finally, we need to revisit our budget. As much as we like to be on top of things and make sure that we're being fiscally responsible, I'm not sure that we've given proper consideration to CTE and learning more about it, and just a purchase of a treadmill, for example, can be tens of thousands of dollars. I learned these different high-tech equipment, pieces. So if you have a budget of $100,000 and you need to purchase something for $40,000, that obviously, eats up a good portion of your budget. So we need to pay attention to that and revisit our budgeting. So some of the recommendations that we have moving forward would certainly be to create a marketing plan to include, these are some examples, but we've seen a great deal from the working group has shared with us great brochures that are very easy to do. And I don't see a reason why we could not do that to market it and the program, and also the public service announcements. I know Mr. Hobbs is working on some things in that area. We also can try to tie into our website. I know we're redoing it, so I'm not sure, but these are just ideas. And also some informational sheets that we can get out. I think what's also important is that we need to promote it in our middle schools. We've been hearing that, and educate our students on the options that are out there. So we need to do a better job of getting down into the middle schools and educating them on what we have to offer. We also, I believe that we need to provide some professional development for our guidance counselors and also our staff overall. And that ties into how we place our students. So if guidance counselors and teachers have a better understanding of what CTE has to offer, perhaps they can then guide students in the right direction. We're trying to eliminate a stigma that is associated oftentimes with career tech, and it stems back to when I was in school, and I think I'm sure even prior to that, and just remembering that the thoughts that people had about people who went into career tech, which is not the case at all. And it leads to some great opportunities, but I'm not so sure that our kids are getting that message, so we need to make sure we're delivering that message appropriately. The last thing we want to do, and it's in process right now, is conduct a student survey. So we've listened to a lot of adults, but one thing that's missing is our students' voices, as we often have said. And so what we've asked to do is to, I've spoken with Mr. Ross, who's spoken with Mr. Hobbs, who's created a survey, and we're just waiting. I asked that by September 10th, we have information gathered from the students to hear their voices. What is it that interests them? What do they want out of a program? We want to get some feedback from them. So I'm hesitant to make a final recommendation until I hear from the students, until we hear from them and what they have to say. So once we get that, we have some preliminary recommendations, but again, there's a key word here, which is preliminary, and this is just a tentative recommendation. And some of the things, and all the things that I mentioned, and all the things that we examined, we believe to be fiscally responsible, as well as offering a variety of classes to students, is to maintain 13 programs. So again, you heard me say that we have to have a minimum of 12. I don't think we're comfortable in doing the bare minimum of 12 because of the reasons such as low enrollment, that if you have to tweak something, you have the ability to do that. So we would maintain 13 programs. We would keep all of the existing classes with one exception, and that would be to add culinary arts and hospitality. Recognizing that there's a large cost associated with that. I do have, personally, I have some experience with culinary arts, as I shared with some folks with my previous district. It was a wonderful program, and we didn't have the money to spend on it, and somehow we managed to do that, but it was a great investment. But again, we'd like to hear from the students. What we think is a great idea as adults, I don't know. We'd like to hear from the students. So that would be our addition, but in doing so, we know that we have to remove one program to remain at that 13. So engineering is a question, something that we're questioning. And in looking at that, certainly the enrollment is low. The interest of our students, we're finding, is not there. Even the students that were placed in it struggled, some of them struggled, and therefore that was taken, kind of looking at that into consideration. We're looking at sustainability. So is this a program that we can sustain long-term? We're buying $25,000 pieces of equipment. Nothing is cheap in the program. Anything that we have to purchase, there's a great cost associated with that. So we need to look at that if that's something that we can sustain as we move forward. And again, the cost of it overall. So that's just something that's been discussed. Again, not a final decision, but that is the direction in which we're heading. We've had a rough year. To be transparent and be honest, Project Lead the Way has been a struggle for this district. We got the money, and I'm not sure that it wasn't necessarily as well thought out and planned as we would have liked it to have been. And so as a result, we were always playing catch up and always needing to purchase something else, fix something, and it just wasn't gelling, and the students were suffering. And again, with all of that, the student interest enrollment is very low in that, and that's key too. Because if we can make it work for kids, if there's a great interest, we'll make it work for them. But the combination of all of that is just of concern. So with that, that's an update for the board. And if you have any questions, I will certainly try to answer any of them.
I guess I have a general question. In looking at this chart at the spikes and the dips of enrollment, just in general, why might that happen? Why might there be in introduction to engineering 0, then 20, then 0? Does this go back to what we hear from families sometimes about how their kids don't know about the programs? We used to hear about it with the Black and Gold, nobody's out there really selling it to kids, for example. Is that what's happening here?
Well, I find some of it peculiar myself, and I've asked some questions. And this, I got this information from our data team, and I questioned, and I did make some follow-up calls because some of it wasn't really jiving, and I wanted to explain the zeros and all of that. The easy one to explain is that a student might take a program in the first year and then not want to continue it in the second year. But where it gets tricky is when you have a lower number in the first year and a higher number in the second year. And so, I haven't really been able to put my hands around all of that, but there are certainly some questions that I've raised about these numbers. And then, just transferring in and out of districts, of course. We could get kids that come in and leave. That could affect our numbers as well.
And going back to also to add to that, maybe our students are appropriately placed. So if you may have students in the engineering program and they find that it's too difficult because they have to have some math backgrounds to be in, then they go back into a regular classroom. So really, she's been working at it, trying to get some good data to see why we have these trends, and really trying to get an understanding of why our kids not choosing these programs or why they're leaving the programs. Even having some conversations with some of the teachers I have, and they've stated that we've not marketed the program well and really not gone after some of the students that they consider should be in the program.
One of my hunches on the zeros for 2012 is perhaps we didn't offer the class that year, is my guess. Yeah.
On the bigger version of that, though, which, again, I don't know, is do we know why there was that huge drop? I mean, if we lost like
Right.
25% in one year and then
Yeah.
gained it all back the next year, I mean, was that, so what did we do differently between last year and this year, I guess, is the question? Or did we do anything differently, and this is what happened anyway?
I obviously, you can't help but notice that dip. Would I say that we did anything differently? Not that I'm aware of, but again, I don't have the history on that, so it's hard for me to say. I know that we have a new coordinator, for instance, but I'm not sure.
But there were not brochures, there was not an active plan.
Right.
Marketing
Not
and going into
comprehensive.
it. There's not a
Yeah.
comprehensive
Well,
plan.
we've not seen evidence of a comprehensive
Sure.
plan, so
Yeah.
there may have been one existing, but we've
Yeah.
not seen it.
It was definitely in the works at the very least.
Right.
Yeah, and I think just on this point, well, I guess there's two things that I would say. One is that if we think about this as trends, we had, in one year, we had about, significant drop, 100 kids, almost 84 kids. And then we gained 82 back or something like that. And that's worth us paying attention to, because there must be something happening there. And I don't know if it's just the kids that are coming through at any particular time or what have you, I'm not sure. But I think we need to pay attention to it because, you know, I think even if we were to roll back a little bit further, we probably had more kids than what we're seeing on these charts. I think we were up around 400 just maybe a couple of years back. And I think it ought, given where the world is, I think we need to pay some real attention to that and see where we are. And I'm real curious, how the 3 engineering courses related? You got introduction, that's not a freshman course, is it?
No, they're 11th and 12th grade.
So you got, so introduction is just a 1 semester course or something like
I
that?
believe it is.
And
then-
so 1 and 2, the technologies 1 and 2 are half year, one's a half year and one's a full year? Or do we,
They might be both semesters. I heard someone is.
They're all full year.
Okay.
There's 4 engineering courses have been offered at least this last year, and they were all full year courses.
Okay.
okay.
But-
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think one of the things I would suggest is we get a little, if possible, pull the data out that goes more than just the last 3 years, because I think just from a trend analysis, we've got to, you know, it could have been that 1 year that the scheduling, there was a block of kids, and that might attribute for a portion of the drop-off. But if we can get, you know, 5 or even a 10-year trend, I think if the data exists, I think there'd be value in seeing that. A question I would pose in regards to exercise science, it's got 11 students, and in the 2 sections have 11 students in the current year. What does that require from a spatial, what kind of room is it in? What kind of equipment? What kind of teacher is that? Because it's very low. I could see it being low enrollment. Conversely, I could see it being in a classroom space that's relatively like the marketing class would be basically a classroom. It doesn't require highly specialized spaces, or does it? That's what because it's got a very low
No,
enrollment.
I'm trying to
in terms of-
recall how much square footage we had allotted for that, but I know they have bigger equipment, so they need some space. Do they need a high bay or anything? No.
Right. Well,
But, yeah,
And the reason I'm asking, because particularly it's going to pertain to culinary program, is that we're going to have to pull the trigger soon on going from schematic to construction drawings in the high school. And I think for us to be able to make quality decisions on, okay, we're casting a die for easily the next 10 years, probably 20 or 30, to have a good sense of what the program needs are. Because I think, like Ron was saying, the engineering technology would really seem to dovetail with a lot of stuff we're doing and some of the other CTE programs. So it'd be really unfortunate if it's having a bad year, to make that bad year seal its
Yeah.
fate for the next 10
Yeah.
years.
yeah, I can definitely get that for you. The exercise science is one that is also slated, you know, I mean, on our watch list, because we are concerned about their numbers as well.
Well, then that's like, if it's basically if it's a relatively simple space and the staffing can be something where the staffer is doing other curriculum, then it's, in my opinion, it's relatively easy for us to offer it. If it requires highly specialized spaces and staffing, then I think it puts it on the bubble where we have to make a real gut decision. Does it stay or does it go? The same way you're looking at the
Could I
engineering technology.
file a slightly dissenting opinion, just like it?
Okay.
So in terms of the trend analysis, I'm not sure that I think, my opinion, that it's worth a lot to spend a lot of time on trend analysis, because I'm not sure we know what apples to apples means, because there's been a lot of changes. There have been courses that haven't been offered, the courses that have been offered, there have been different people running it, there have been different, who knows what level of marketing. I actually would say, why don't we just make a decision of what we're trying to do, and work toward that. I think it's dangerous to start saying that just because something's called engineering, it fits directly into STEM. Audio engineering's up there, and that would be part of STEM. Automotive technology, I could make an argument of that being STEM. I can make an argument for most of those being parts of STEM.
That's right.
So,
That's
so
that's
right,
the point.
Right, but I mean, so before I started to say, oh my gosh, we got to save engineering, and I'm an engineer, let's just throw that out there. I think we want to be very thoughtful of what it is we're trying to do as a program as a whole, and then make decisions, because sure, there's a set curriculum for these courses, but we also, I would assume we have some level of flexibility to also enhance that curriculum however we want. So is it possible to create, to merge things? Is it possible to, and to that end, also, you brought up and I've brought it up before, professional development for our counselors is absolutely crucial from my standpoint, because I really don't feel that that students are being given, not only here's what some of your skills are, but here's where you can go with it, and here's what I think that's going to be key in this entire thing. So, it's not really that dissent.
Your dissent is noted, and we see that we have to do some professional development. So what I think is that we need to understand, I think, that when we start talking about career and technical education, we haven't done a good job ourselves in knowing what we're doing and what we're talking about. I think we should start here. And I think that if we think about what we're doing and how we're working with our kids, ultimately, we don't want to do a disservice to our kids. If we're going to prepare our kids for the 21st century, we've got to pay a lot more attention to CTE than we have at this point. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but the whole notion of our kids and engaging them and getting them on the right track is an important thing. And part of it is that we may not have done a good job in terms of how we've motivated our kids in terms of what their lives look like, what they're going to be in 5 years out of high school. I mean, I don't think our kids really have a good grasp on that. Some do, but a lot don't. So, I mean, let's look at what we're talking about more seriously. Yeah.
I guess my follow-up questions would be related to what your timeline is for this. I don't know how in-depth to get into this now, and I have one request once I hear your answer to that.
Okay, well, the reason I said the September 10th is because I spoke with the architects and I spoke with Mr. Shigalis, and I kind of have an idea of when they need their answer. So we're trying to work in conjunction with that. So at mid-September is our goal.
Okay, so we will not be discussing this again.
If you want to, we can.
Yeah, I guess, obviously, it's very, very, very important for that timeline. And so I'm just not sure how we should process this. Were you going to say something,
Well,
Superintendent?
We have a couple things. The space that we're creating in the new high school is going to could be multi-purpose space. So we can still really make some decisions on what the program can look like and not impede on the space that will be created.
Mm-hmm.
So we can still continue to have some in-depth discussions about how that's going to look and even what it would look like for our middle school students. I mean, we have 2 STEM elementary schools, what it will look like 10 years for those students coming out of Garrity and Boulevard. So I think we still have an opportunity to still grow programs. And so I think we could still do some in-depth analysis and still,
Yeah, that's a good point. The big issue, the driving force that I've been told from the architects is the culinary arts, if that's a go or not. The other ones, exercise science, engineering, we don't need to necessarily know that by mid-September. We need to know the culinary arts.
Right.
So.
Well, that goes to one of the things, we're talking about trends or what the students want to do. One of the CTE advocates sent me documentation as far as, hey, here's what all these different programs are doing. So I put it into a big grid to see who's doing what. And I think one of the things, for me, I'm very much, no point in reinventing the horse or reinventing the wheel, put the horse before the cart before the horse, is that, got a little,
Mixing your analogies.
I got
No
sunstroke
point.
over the weekend, so. I'd be very, there's a number of programs that we offer that very few other systems, comparable systems are doing. Some of them are very well attended, others have very low attendance. There's other programs, other systems that are doing, or consortiums doing programs that we're considering doing, but it's sort of, we saw Beechwood, which has sort of a creme de la creme of culinary, but then I know other systems are offering it, but when they're offering a culinary, is it jazzed up home ec, or is it what Beechwood offered? So I think I would very curious to see, even for what other systems have been doing, where their enrollment numbers are. Because I think it gives a little bit of a validity in an argument if we're going to go down a path, if that's a trend that we're doing as a region, I think it makes a stronger case for us to do stuff. But I think I think tentatively we're looking at possibly a meeting on the 30th of September to discuss, because perhaps that might be an opportunity to re-examine some of these issues. I think from the architect's standpoint, it probably is a matter of, we can't wait till January to make a decision, but I think as they're moving forward, as long as we have the square foot allocation, the specifics of what we put in that space, they're not going to want to have to change the drawings, but if we want to go a different route, we still have a little bit of time.
Yeah, and for the first part of that question with the comment around the culinary is, we were given a lot of great information from the CTE working group, and we're not looking at, there are low income type positions, entry level, line cooks, et cetera, but we were looking to make it more with the hospitality and other opportunities for kids, chefs beyond that as well, but getting into the hospitality end of things. I can also say that the enrollment in Euclid, when I was there, we had a number of students on a waiting list of trying to get into it. So there was a great interest. Now that's a different community, but it's still in the area. I've been to Beechwood's program there, and I've eaten there, and I've also visited it. We had a meeting there. One of our colleagues arranged it for us, and it was great. Now, I don't know. I'll be very curious. I just want to again reiterate that we want to honor the past and look at the trend data, but we also want to look to the future, because, as we had said, these are programs that are 10, 20, 30, 40 years out. And again, doesn't mean you can't change them, where the spaces will be flexible enough to do that. And we also want to, that's the first point. The second point is that we want to hear from the students. So if they all come back and say, oh, we have absolutely no interest in, and we're looking at, also giving this to the middle schoolers, because they're the ones who are going to, capitalize on this as well. So I don't want to, as adults, we often try to predict what kids are going to say, and we don't always know the answers. So we want to be real deliberate in listening to their voices. So.
The pressures, I agree with Nancy in terms of where we are and what we need to know. There's one piece of this that, I will probably continuously bring up, and that is when we say Tri-Heights, that means it's us and two others. And I wonder, as we talk about these different things that we're doing, like the student survey or whatever, do we have plans to do them with Shaker and Warrensville and so on? And related to that, I wonder how many of these students are Shaker and Warrensville students?
Not many. There's a total of, I want to say it's 80. I'm not sure. I have it, but there's not many. There's a smattering of 2, 3 here and there in here. Most of them are our kids. There's not too many.
And that might be a place for us to mine we might be able to come up with our numbers if we're doing a good job in terms of interfacing with Shaker and Warrensville. So I think it's worth really understanding where those kids are as well. So I want to encourage that.
Well, going along the lines, if we're talking with them for their enrollment, I'd also, if our friends from the South would be willing to throw a few dollars into the pot for this, would be very appreciative. From a capital standpoint, not from a tuition standpoint, would be extremely appreciative.
Well, let me just say this, and I think the whole issue of financing and how these things get financed, we need to really begin to understand that, because in fact, the way it works is that they put a certain amount of money into the tuition. Part of it is for capital. So there is some money in what Shaker and Warrensville pay us that is supposed to be used for capital and equipment and that kind of thing. And I think it's something like $500 per full-time student. So there is some money there. It might not be a whole lot, but there is some money coming from them. Again, it might be a conversation about us understanding how these dollars work a little bit better. And we could probably ask that question too.
Well, I guess like the question I would pose to staff and to the board is that, does staff think that I should say, would the board want to hear more on the 30th, and can staff have materials by then? Is that, are both parties working towards
More on what?
Yeah, I think we better say, yeah.
Well, I would, I think more information as far as what staff is advocating for from a decision standpoint, a little bit more in here, basically the materials that we saw on the screen, fleshed out in a little more detail. What are we looking at? I mean, is that conceivable?
I'm not sure why we would need to have it by the 30th.
Why would,
Because it doesn't impede in with the schematic design,
Well,
unless we're talking culinary program, if that's where.
I guess with that, Steve's chilling in the back. I mean, do you need, do we, when's fail-safe? When do we have to make a decision to a degree? When would you like a decision, I should say? Well, that was 6 months ago.
So, I think sooner rather than later, generally. We would like to have a decision. Yeah. Yes. Bring too close. Okay. Be brief.
You have 30 seconds.
So yes, sooner rather than later. I think we can, as you were alluding, Eric, we can allocate space and hold that. But we're getting to a point where we're going to need to know. And I would say that as we get into October and November, we're going to need a decision. The architects are going to need a decision in terms of what that space is.
But go into that a little bit more, Steve, because I understood what the superintendent said to be that we can move along as long as we have sort of the yay or nay on the culinary, which is the major driver of space for the new building. That, I mean, these conversations that we've been having tonight about just the future of CTE and what we need to do to support that program and grow interest in and excitement around the program is a very different question that I don't think you need to have answered by the end of September or October. Am I right?
Not all of them, that's right. But let's back up a minute. So, for instance, cosmetology. Now, that's not a program that's I've heard a lot of debate about, but that's certainly a program we need a direction on. Right. We can't, it's a specialty space. So
Right.
you can't say, in February, sorry, we decided we want to change cosmetology to something else because
Right.
that's such a specialty space. So that's very similar in that regard to the culinary program. So there are several other programs that are like that other than just culinary where we would need a decision because of the nature of the space. It's so specialized. For instance, the high bay spaces that we're not talking about, right? We would need to know what's going to happen with those. There are many other spaces that are basically just classrooms, more or less just classrooms. And so those can become anything as we move through the future at any time, whether this year or next. So,
But I want to take a step back then, because we've been involved in this process for a minute or two. And there's an assumption that we've made, I think, when we look at these schematic drawings up to this point, that if we're talking about CTE, that we have planned that space that we saw in the building with these programs that you're talking about needing special space, that we thought they were in our minds or in the engineers and the architects' minds as they were making those drawings. Do I understand you to say that maybe we have not quite accounted for these spaces like cosmetology or
no,
something?
we have. No, we have.
It's all in there.
They're in there. They're all
Well,
there.
that's what I thought.
Yes, they're all there.
But they're highly
But
specialized.
we're talking about perhaps changing our minds. And if we're going to change our mind, that would impact more spaces than just the culinary arts. In other words, the point I was trying to make is there are more spaces than just culinary arts that are specialty in nature that are going to be difficult to change.
Right.
That's
If
all.
we don't make a decision. Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the key is which programs that have specialized spaces are the ones that are the ones we're debating. Because cosmetology, I don't think there's any discussion or debate as far as we're going to keep that. It's a matter of are we jumping in with culinary and a couple of these other programs that may have specialized spacing. I think is it staying or is it going? I think the architects are going to need to have a decision from us in some capacity or another in relatively short order. Otherwise, it's going to become change orders during construction, which we don't want to do.
And you are going to see the latest iteration of the plans on the 16th. And they will have the current layout of the CTE programs in them. So it'd be another opportunity
As we get
to
into
talk.
that, and I don't know, this changing our minds thing, I'm not sure exactly about that. But so I guess what we need to do on the 16th maybe is take a minute and just walk our way through some of these specialized spaces and have it clear in our heads that, yeah, we have allowed for those.
Right. I think we can. Based on this discussion, that was exactly what was in my mind, is that we need to take some more time on the 16th to carefully walk through the various spaces that are in the CTE program or the CTE schematic design as it currently stands. Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now we have our early college program presentation. Come on up, Mrs. McKinney
Patient.
and students.
And I just want to make an acknowledgement. Jonathan Hicks was real brave and was a surrogate for us on the spelling bee. So, Jonathan, we want to thank you publicly.
Good evening. I almost said good morning, so that shows it has been a long day. I'm Elisa McKinney, and I'm the principal of the Early College Program. The Early College Program partners with John Carroll to provide all of our students with rich college readiness, and we do that instructionally, by experiences, as well as exposures. This is our third year in existence, and these are members of the very first cohorts that I'll have speak to you momentarily. Our students take classes, they take block schedule, and for example, that means their first year of high school, the first semester, they take all of their ninth grade classes. The regular students, the normal schedule is 50 minutes, 46, 50 minutes, hours is 100, so it's blocked. Second semester, they take their 10th grade classes. Their second year, they take 11th grade classes, their fourth year math, etc. And so when they're 11th graders, like Landry and Jonathan, they're either in a position to attend classes at John Carroll or just in a position to take AP, other college prep track. So we really work hard to do that for our students. One of the ways that we are successful, one of the reasons why, the benefit is that our teachers are program specialists, which means they have extended year. So they start a week earlier and go a week later than the regular teachers. Their day starts earlier, and then they get off at 4:30, and it's all about student achievement. We have a foundation of mastery, so students need to master the standards, the benchmarks, the objectives, and so our teachers have an opportunity to do that. After school, the kids have an opportunity to retest, rewrite, and redo. We have a lot of discussion about student data, do a lot of dissection, everything to make sure that they're ready either to go to John Carroll or to have a rich college prep experience. So today, this evening, I have with me two of our 11th graders from cohort 1, Landry Sneed and Jonathan Hicks, both of who started John Carroll today. I have Bridget Lambright, and I would say that Bridget is one of the founders, along with Joe Mishler. Raise your hand, Dr. Mishler. And Dr. Storrs of the Early College Program. Bridget teaches English. And we have our partner. We enjoy working and work very closely with Dr. Storrs, and he is from John Carroll. So now is an opportunity to hear from Jonathan and Landry.
Today, as you heard, I did have my first class at John Carroll, and as I walked up the stairs to my first classroom, found the courage to walk into the door, and 10 minutes in the class, the teacher looks at me and says, "You're in the wrong classroom." Gotta love it. And while this experience I needed, it's college experience, and I wouldn't trade anything in the world for it, the Real Early College program at the high school offers so much more to students than just the college experience. Students have to commit mandatory community service, and community service is not something many students have even thought about while in high school, even though community service is a very important aspect to life when people apply for college and jobs. Well, as I said, in Real Early College, community service is mandatory, so every student has the opportunity to get these hours in while still in high school, early on into their high school career. And students also have an opportunity to really master the subjects, their core subjects, due to the open grade book of the Real Early College program. In a regular high school program, a student can pass with maybe a C, maybe even a B, without really understanding what they were being taught. In the Real Early College program, teachers make students have mastery. That's 90% and above. And by having this set in place, students can really understand what they're being taught and have some of those building blocks that higher level courses build off of in later classes without having to struggle later on in life on going back and remembering, oh, what is that concept in Algebra 2 I forgot 5 years ago. So it's really something that I appreciate that I went through. And Real Early College students can always have the opportunity to reattempt any standards that they didn't master at the time they took it. You know, through the school year, they can go back and master that Algebra 2 concept so they can do it before they take the calculus course at John Carroll. And all this effort is not for naught. Real Early College also rewards its student in the form of intercessory days, where students can kind of take a break from their strenuous day while building a rapport with their peers and having who supported them along the way, as Real Early College is a family, and each of the students can't get by without relying on one another in this program. And intercessory days are also a day for the student who isn't on track for mastery to kind of get on point. So any of that work, any of that standard that they didn't complete, they can go back and do it again. Overall, Real Early College is one of the best programs I've ever been into, and a greatest challenge in my life that I wouldn't give up for anything in the world.
Hi, I'm Landry. Fortunately for me, I had a much smoother time than Jonathan. I walked straight into my statistics class and it went fabulously. I'm so excited for it. Well, choosing Real was one of the best decisions I could have made going into high school. I feel like I've received so many opportunities that I would not have if I had become a part of any other program. Over the years, I have been given many opportunities to develop my public speaking, leadership, and social skills being an ambassador. Also, being an ambassador has taught me how to represent an organization, which is certainly something I will have to do at John Carroll, and as I move on to bigger and better places. The Real Deal, a newspaper by Real Early College students, and about what is going on in the high school and what we're doing in the program, gave me a chance to take on another leadership role. I was an editor, and I was also able to showcase and enhance my writing abilities with Ms. McCautry, our old English teacher. Sorely missed. It was also allowed me to learn how to take criticism of my writing critically, which is something I will need to do when taking classes at John Carroll, where writing is a necessity. Whether it's engaging in classes or being surrounded by people who truly care about me, Real has given me the chance to experience something that other students might not ever come to experience during their time at Heights. We have all been in the program from the very beginning, and we have all grown together, along with the program. Most of other students at Heights have a different set of people that they sit around with at different periods, which are relatively short. As an early college student, we spend most of our day with the same people in much longer, more rigorous courses. This has given us a chance to bond with each other, which makes being in a class for so long much more engaging. We are confident in our peers and honestly believe that they can give us the support to make it through the classes. We have built trust in each other, and we have built healthy and constructive relationships with our teachers. I can honestly say that I and most of my peers will be able to graduate with a heightened sense of pride and accomplishment simply because we're coming out of Real. We have all worked so hard, and we are so happy to say that Real is what pushed us forward.
we are more than prepared to be in professional environments that we'll most likely find ourselves in while at John Carroll or even after we graduate. Real has given us a set of skills that we have been building since we joined the program, and each of the opportunities that it provides us with gives us ways we can make them stronger and practice them in real-life situations.
Good evening. I am Ms. Lambright, and I just have to say that I am remarkably proud of those young people. And I want you to keep in mind that these young people and their peers are still like 15 and 16. So I think the first time that we sent them to John Carroll, they were ninth graders, they were 14 and 15-year-olds, and some of the feedback that I received from the John Carroll professors was that they did not even know that they were that young. So what you have in terms of the program specialists is you have a team of teachers, and we are all on the same page. You have charged us to get these children ready for college in approximately 2 years. We are doing that. Now, you have some students, of course, who are highly motivated. We just need to shine them up a little bit. And then there are other students, honestly, who just need a little bit more tender love and care. And that's where that extended year comes into play. That's where the open grade book, I have students coming back to me who started out year 1 and now they're in year 3, and they're still able to come and say, year 1, I had some challenges. I'm not that child anymore. I'm ready to go back and fix it. And that is what is unique about early college. I am so proud of them. There are, oh my goodness, 8 others who are planning on heading up to John Carroll, and then there are others who we are grooming to be able to move on in their stead and take their place. But most importantly, they are shaping the next cohort. And I think that is the piece that I am just overwhelmed about, that they understand that. And I repeat, these are 15-year-olds. Yes? They're still babies. They don't like me to say that, but they're still babies. And look what they're able to accomplish. And so, you know, I reach out to you on behalf of the other program specialists and say thank you so much for this opportunity. I was here from the beginning. I am watching it grow. I see the potential. I came from another district specifically for the early college program, and I'm just honored to be getting the children ready for John Carroll. Thank you so much. And also, some of the students wanted me to say to you, they said that because we have unlimited access to the program specialists, we are a family for many of those children. They have cried together, and I have to say this about Landry. She's our intellectual of the group. So you might say to yourself, again, well, children like Landry and Jonathan, well, they came to you ready. No, we had to work on Landry. We really did. We had to soften her up a bit, you know, because you can be an intellectual, but you can also have a heart. So we're doing different things with the children to just bring out their potential, help them blossom, and then, of course, shoo them on and give them to Dr. Storrs. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, greetings from the university
Yes,
to everyone on behalf of our president. After listening to Landry and Jonathan and Bridget, you can understand why John Carroll is so happy to be part of this partnership and how I am so excited to be the academic advisor of these young folks. And I could tell you so much about my experience with them so far. I had the opportunity to teach them this summer. We invited all of the juniors to come to campus for a college readiness course this summer, and 14 came to the program. It was the highlight of my summer. The level of motivation, the level of serious, I mean, I've been at John Carroll 17 years, and I haven't had students on the edge of their seats since my first year there. And so it was gratifying to teach folks who were as motivated and as engaged as these 14 folks were. And and to their teachers as well. You know, you certainly can be proud of the students and what they've accomplished, because one of the things I've stressed with them this summer is we need to give them a whole lot of credit for the fact that they're going to be navigating 2 very different worlds this fall, right? They're going to be with college professors in college classrooms with college students in the morning, and then they're going to go back to their high school teachers and their high school peers in the afternoon. That is not easy for anyone to do, and so that's kudos for these young folks to be able to do this. But the other thing I would say is the quality of their work. All of the 8 students that are at Carroll this fall are taking English Comp and Rhetoric 1. And in order to place them in the correct courses, I gave writing samples to the director of our writing center. And Dr. Pace told me that the writing quality of these high school juniors was in many ways better than the writing quality of some of the freshman students that we accept from other places. So that the teachers have done an outstanding job with these young folks. They are terrific. And so John Carroll is very happy to have them. We look forward to more students coming. It's good for us to start out kind of small. I want you to also know that all 8 are taking English Comp Rhetoric, but we also have a student like Jonathan who's taking 10 credits. In college, 12 credits is full-time. Between 12 and 18 hours is full-time. Jonathan's taking 10 hours this semester, including calculus and Japanese. And Landry is in political science and statistics, and many of the other students are in the introduction to psychology. And our campus has embraced this. All courses are going to be open to our students from all the different academic departments. And we are, like I said, we couldn't be happier, and congratulations on what you've embarked on here. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I just, thank you, Dr. Michelin, for coming in. I know he was kind of behind this project, and thank you for coming to support the team tonight in their presentation. Thank you.
It's good to see you.
I think that.
Teary.
What?
Makes me teary. They're
It
so
does.
cool.
I think Landry and Jonathan proved what Dr. Selico said about the importance of the student voice. That was,
Yes,
that-
you're right. Yep.
they could be your marketing program for any number of things right there.
Hopefully, they are talking to our 8th graders this year.
Yeah, that's right.
You're right.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Okay. So that gets us to personnel E1 through 5. I think we can take those all together, so I'll entertain a motion to approve
So
those.
moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a general question. I don't need it drilled down to the individuals, but why might the supplementals be canceled?
Thank you for asking the question I was asking, I was thinking.
Paul has come up, and thank you, Paul.
As far as some of the supplementals being canceled, we had some teachers that moved buildings. So what we tried to do with the supplementals for the BLTs is get those ready before June. But if there's any transfers to different buildings, then they may not have had that supplemental in the next building, so that's why those would be canceled. It doesn't mean that another teacher won't take that supplemental. It's just that particular person was canceled.
There are 2 that are sports related. So, okay, maybe we can, I'm just.
So, yeah, with the sports, they could have left, but specifically, I'd have to go back and look at each one,
Okay,
but that's why that would be canceled.
Okay.
Yeah. But isn't it the case that the sports are not always our people? They might have found
Might be outsiders.
something else
Correct.
that they're doing instead of.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes. Okay, I think under business services, we can take all these together. I'll entertain a motion to accept items F1 through 5.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I
Yes.
I only have a comment and a question in regards to bus routes. So I just want to get Steve walking back and forth.
You read all those bus routes.
I went.
Thought I was going to make it by.
No, you gotta.
Okay.
I was afraid to ask questions.
I want to say hats off to Transportation Department because
Thank you.
I worked for a medical transportation company for a while, 10 years ago with the software doing stuff like this. So this is, God bless you on this. So just hats off to them for that. I mean, especially the level of detail. It's very impressive. I guess the only question I have from looking at a lot of these routes was about what percent of our students are public school students and is it about, in the past it was about half and half public and private. Are we still maintaining, because I was, some of these routes, I think for some a lot of folks will say, hey, I don't get anything out of the system. I mean, this is proof positive that half of our students are private school students. I mean, this is pretty impressive. I mean, this is what we do every day.
Roughly, we transport just over 2,000 students, and half of them are public school, half of them are private school, roughly. Yeah.
No, I just want to say, to get that figure, and also, hats off, this is excellent.
Thank you.
Well, somebody indicated to me that we could plan all these routes so that we only had right turns. Is that the case here? Yeah, just teasing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Done.
That's the UPS model.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But if the kids just jump and roll, that's the only catch. You got to stop the bus.
Okay, we've gone a bit too far.
Okay, anything else?
Got to watch the again.
Okay, Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Under finance, we need to go through do we have to? Okay, so we can take the finance, G1 and 2 together. So I'll accept a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
I guess I should say something about G2. Yeah. When Ohio School Boards Association has its meeting in Columbus each fall, sort of the second week in November, I think, they have what they call a delegate assembly, and each school board has the opportunity to vote on the different things that the association is considering. And they always ask for representatives, and they call them delegates. And so each school board that's participating in that as a member has the right to have a delegate and an alternate. And we have, the motion that's before us is to approve Ron Register as delegate and Nancy Pepler as alternate, coming up with the conference in starting November 9th through the 12th or something like that? Okay, so that's what that motion is. Anything else? Any questions, financial reports, anything you want to say, Scott? Okay. All right, would you call the roll?
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Under the board president report, I want to make a recommendation that we fill the vacancy that we have on the Facilities Accountability Committee. And one of the things that the person that we lost was a resident of University Heights, and she also was a teacher. And fortunately, we were able to find somebody else that had that same pedigree. And so tonight, I want to recommend that we appoint Julie Egri to the Facilities Accountability Committee, and I'll accept a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions, discussion?
Thank you to her for stepping forward.
Yeah.
Right.
She's a very thoughtful person, too.
Yeah, I think Carol had her in second grade. or
I had
something.
her in second grade, that's right. No, my children did. No, that's not exactly. She was not born, but yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, Mr. Gaynor, would you call the roll?
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Yeah, and we would ask Mr. Chagallus to communicate that to her expeditiously and maybe spend a little bit of time with her, catching her up to where things are. And if you need some help from our board representative, you can call on them too. Okay. Any unfinished business? Okay, new business. I believe we want to, Mr. Silverman, we were talking about discussing the proceeds from the Milliken sale, which was like $650,000.
Yeah, at the last meeting, when we made the motion to, we sold. When we sold Milliken, I said I had some thoughts on the utilization of the proceeds, and I've shared with you, with my colleagues and the superintendent, one of the ideas I was thinking of is that we have, on the 13th, we're going to be opening up our very attractive renovated football stadium, and there's one slight missing element, which would be concessions and restrooms are a little lacking. So my thought would be to allocate the $650 as the starting block, as you will, for what I would dub a visitor center at the field that would house restrooms, concessions, some storage, and possibly a visitor's locker room of some capacity. That we would acknowledge the donation, or the original donation of the land and the sale with a plaque acknowledging Severance Milliken's donation. And then theoretically, it'd be nice if the structure could at least evoke part of the Severance estate, which would basically be, red brick. So that would be a way for us to take this donation, reuse it again, and give us the opportunity to, in my opinion, fill the one missing element of our track and field complex. So I've got some languages, some specific language, but I think it gives us the ability to maintain the Severance Milliken name on a structure with the plaque acknowledging it. But more importantly, I think gives us the ability to also have a starting point. We know we have some folks who are interested in supporting elements at the football complex. By doing this hopefully will be a catalyst and motivator to the district stepping up with one component that we could see expansion. Because I know when we have, for 2 years, we're going to need temporary locker rooms and coach spaces, that hopefully that this locker room component, if we can swing it dollars and cents wise, could, instead of spending money on temporary, it could be something much more permanent. So what I'm trying to do is at least use this as a nucleus around which other dollars could be attached, both from either savings we see from other components of the swing space or donations as well. But I think we need this nucleus around which we can get some donations, and we kickstart fundraising efforts as well. That's my pitch.
Any thoughts?
And your recommendation is to spend all $650,000?
Yeah, I think allocated towards it, because I know some of the previous estimates which were based upon more of a standalone project. I think the facilities were for a 5,000 seat capacity stadium versus 2,500. But I believe that those numbers were higher than the 900,000, or higher than the 650. The conversely, I mentioned restrooms and things like this before. We were told that by doing it with the high school, we would see some economies and efficiencies of scale. So that would actually save us money by lumping it in with the work for the high school. So I believe from the previous estimate, obviously we have to rework it, but I believe that the 650 should be able to give us the base components that we're looking for.
I would just have to register slight discomfort with spending the entire thing on that's not directly academically related or goes to any of the other vying factors in the where does the money go. I mean, since this is a one-time donation, I fully support. I mean, I voted for everything all along the way on the stadium, including going larger than we originally budgeted and things like that. And I think, and we've done several steps toward kickstarting the donation process as well. I know there's been several steps we have taken that were, in theory, helping us to kickstart that and to get people interested and to keep the drive going to getting outside funding. And I don't want to undercut that. And I don't mind some of this money going to that. I just feel a little bit odd telling people that we got the $650,000 and it's all going to a concession stand and some stadium seating, as opposed to anything that's going to be directly influencing teaching the kids.
Well, the reality is that the dollars and cents estimate, and I think Steve's chomping on the bit probably to talk at the microphone. The dollars and cents, like I said, I'm viewing this as if a price is out and it comes in lower than that, I have no issues with that. My feeling is that we sold the donation, the land. We sold the land, which really, let's be honest, that was the value. It wasn't the building. The building was extra. We sold the land that was a donation. I see significant value in taking what was a capital asset and pouring it back into another capital asset.
Agreed
as well as attaching the name of that donor in one capacity or another to that for the next 25 or 50 years. I think that sends a message to the donor community that we're sincere and earnest that we will be good stewards when you give us something. I think I don't want to say it's an embarrassment, but I think it's an embarrassment that we don't know when we will solve this major hole in the track and field complex. And I think this is a way to achieve multiple objectives with one move, which is why I understand the hesitancy about the dollars and cents, but it's what we have and that's what it costs.
I guess I'd like to maybe hear from Steve, if you're willing, a little bit around the budget issue related to, and Eric, the point that really made me take note of this Eric's proposal was that the temporary the amount that we are currently budgeting to have to spend on those temporary structures is very significant. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's about $400,000. So, all good points. If you asked for my 2 cents, here's what I would say, and that is that given where we are in the process, I think what you might want to do is not necessarily tie your hands at this juncture, but rather say, give direction to the administration or the staff to develop a plan for such a facility, and then consider that within the context of your overall decision-making around the high school and some decisions you may be having to face regarding budget and allocations of spaces at the overall high school facility. You know, and let's incorporate that into our overall decision-making process.
How would that,
Well-
what does that mean practically? I mean,
Well, so I'm suggesting that perhaps you don't commit the funds tonight specifically to say we're going to spend all $650,000 on that facility, but rather just give direction to say, come back to us with a, incorporate this facility into the overall schematic design process of the high school, and then we can make the decision about what to do with this facility while we're balancing what we're going to do with the rest of the high school. You know, you're expressing concerns about how does that expenditure balance against educational spaces. That's all very valid. Again, Eric's concerns are valid too. I think that maybe this isn't the point tonight to make that final decision. Let's get some planning done, see what the cost may be for that kind of a facility, see what it would look like. You could have some input then into, how big it is, so on, just as you're doing with all the other schematic spaces in the overall high school, and consider that budget as a part of the overall high school budget. That way you haven't committed yourselves, but yet you give yourself the opportunity to make a decision in the future about how you want to proceed.
I would appreciate that if that would allow us to, again, as we're narrowing down later this month particularly, to begin to look at what, I know that, as we're beginning to figure out what do we have to lose now, because we've gotten as big as we can get and now we're getting small, and if we could figure out, is $200,000 going to actually buy us this within the school, or is there nothing that would get us? Is this about, I would love to be able to compare those things.
Yeah,
as we move
your
forward.
point's a good one, and that is that we are at that juncture where we're going to have to make some difficult decisions in order to get to our budget, to stay on budget. We've got some issues, and we'll be bringing those to you on the 16th of September, so you'll be seeing some of those.
And I'm very comfortable with this being part of, with everything that Eric's proposing being part of that discussion, so we know, and more details on what we think it may cost, what are our options.
Right.
I guess I would really like us to talk a little bit more about what we are going to, I think Eric has an excellent point about what we say on the 13th around the ta-da, and we still have the porta potties. I mean, I know that that's always been our plan. I'm not at all saying that the administration, the architects, and the staff, and that we haven't talked about that. But I guess I'd like to hear, because it was another reason why I thought Eric's solution made some sense before the 13th, although I completely hear and understand what you're saying and advocating for, Steve. So I don't know if that's a you question, that's an Angie question, that's a superintendent question, but I can see people coming into this stadium that day and thinking it and saying it.
Yeah. Just a question around where we are in terms of our planning. If we didn't have this conversation that we're having right now, the whole notion of a welcome center or restrooms and that kind of thing, would that be part of what we would see this month?
No.
But he's saying that at this point, they wouldn't be planning
Right,
on this at all.
it was part of the
Contingency,
secondary
yeah.
for fundraising, what?
Well, 2 meetings ago, Zanoni suggested that we would broaden because of basically because the schematic from HBHSM is moving the wall, basically, we're moving the exterior envelope of the building to the west, which basically starts moving into, whereas it doesn't modify the field, it then starts modifying issues around it, in particular parking,
Right,
access.
right.
So Zanoni had mentioned that we needed to broaden, not have the architects focus not merely just on the high school, but almost on the entire campus site as well. So I think they're supposed to be percolating something on that. I hear Eric's concern from a language standpoint, whereas I would like us to say the entirety of the 650. If it moves the process along, I would have no reservations about removing the specifics of the dollar amount. But I think the ability, like Nancy's saying, the ability for us to say, hey, folks, next year it isn't going to be like this, I think that's, I see this being, especially after the Cleveland Media Group with their wonderful, feature on football fields, I think the ability for us to say, we're not going to we don't know what, to say we have an idea of what we're going to use the monies for, I think goes along. Otherwise, we get $650,000 and I have no idea what we're spending it on. And I, to a degree, my comments and vote, although in the minority, would have been substantively different if we had no idea what we're going to do with the money. So I'll leave it at that.
What I like best about your idea is the notion of memorializing gifts given in the past, gifts. I mean, it is amazing how often you lose things as you close buildings. You forget that, gosh, somebody donated this whole thing. And so I really like that about the suggestion. I will say, Steve, thank you for saying what you said, because you articulated something I would have wanted to say, but I wouldn't have articulated anywhere near as well as you did. It's a little difficult for me, and I wouldn't even go with part, all, whatever. We're early on in a big project, and if you earmark money, I'm not sure that we're at the right spot. So I actually feel that Steve's suggestion of coming with, look, I'm hearing the will of the board is to come give us a plan to work with. That we can potentially work with, or at least we can decide from if it makes sense. Because what I also don't know is if we dedicate the 650 and then it's over budget, that means once again it's opportunity cost. You're pulling from something else again, and I think the notion of a welcome center sounds like a great idea to me at this moment in time with the facts I have now. But as this is moving along and we're having to pare down, which we're going to have to make decisions, and we're going to have to pit things against each other. I don't have the exact same set of concerns that you do about, I think we've actually elevated this discussion because we're talking about it on camera, but I honestly think that if I came to this stadium versus when I've come to the stadium before, I'm going to say, this is
I agree.
I don't think we're going to worry about it.
I absolutely agree with you on that.
Until you've.
Well,
let me put it this way.
But that's me.
I'll phrase it from a visitor standpoint. We have events beginning at 2:00. The game doesn't begin until 4. If you consumed a soda or two during the course of the day,
no need
it's
for the
now
graphics,
fourth
thank
quarter.
you.
I believe, and now that we have 2,500 people because we're anticipating a sold-out crowd as opposed to our normal attendance, which is not near that capacity, I would imagine by the fourth quarter, of that game, I believe that you will suddenly begin to see that our current facilities are not up to the task. And I think then it becomes a little bit more relevant as opposed to when I was in high school and you left at halftime to go to the movies. So I think it will become sharp into focus very soon about that shortcoming.
And the only reason then I'm going to just give the floor to other people. Only reason I don't think it matters quite as much now, I think you have a great story to tell right now. I think you see what's going to be there on the 13th. You have a great story to tell. You have a building behind you that hasn't been started yet. So I don't think people automatically say, oh my gosh, this is it, we're done. They're going to see. This is a work in progress. So I don't think that most people are going to harp on that. And I think the fact that we will be discussing it in open meeting during the month, if they bring us plans, I think then, that shows a level of commitment to saying, okay, we realize that maybe there's a better way to do this. And it may turn out, honestly, I'd be happy if it turned out that way. I just don't know what other things we might need that $650,000 for, and I don't think any of us do at this moment in time.
I go back to, we have historically, when we sold Northwood, my colleagues before I was on the board sold Northwood at a relatively low price. And the money was sort of just thrown in general. I think they spent money on buying some furniture. It didn't go to anything that I know of that was of tangible, of substance. And granted, Northwood we had paid for. It wasn't a very attractive building to begin with, but it didn't have something that sort of gravitas. And as much as we can debate the gravitas of a very politely called visitor center, it is something of substance. It has a very long lifespan, theoretically, if it's maintained well. And because of that, I think when you receive a benefit like this, you put it into something that's going to have a long lifespan. And again, I go back to, I'm seeing multiple issues this addresses in one fell swoop, which is really what's drawing me to it, as well as it could be a catalyst for fundraising opportunities. If the district says, hey, we're putting this in, then the athletic department can go to some of their folks and say, hey, these guys are stepping up. The train's leaving the station, we want to get you on board. And this is, again, the nucleus around which we can have things. I have no reservations allocating the entirety of the money. If we want to strip that from the language, I have no problems with that. If it advances, it advances, because I see immense value in our ability to articulate this on the 13th. I think it propels and moves us forward.
A couple of questions. If we ask for a rendering on this Welcome Center, is that going to add to our fees, our architectural fees? I guess it sort of would, huh?
Yes.
Do we have any idea what we're talking about?
In the scope of the overall high school, it's pretty small. That's a pretty small piece. It could be 30, 50, somewhere $1,000, I don't know, somewhere in there.
Well, I'm inclined to say that we want that. I like the idea that we would be saying something that would suggest that what you see on the 13th is it. I would like to think that people will, that we say, I don't know, I'm torn on this one, I have to say.
One last thing I'll just throw in, I lied before when I said I was going to give up the floor. Sorry, I always do. But we didn't, what we did the other day, there were contingencies on that sale, right? So we don't know, the sale's not done yet, right?
That's
Is that
true.
correct?
It's not done.
Yeah, no, the sale is
So how
not
do
done.
we vote
If we
to
promise that on the
promise
13th.
that money until we know that's
It's-
done?
But you're asking me, aren't you?
I am asking.
Yeah.
You're the president of the board.
Well, you're making it's like when okay, it's when it's when the WVIZ or whatever, you're making a pledge. And, well, if you lose your job, suddenly perhaps you give back the tote bag and they don't give the pledge.
But that's a good enough answer.
It gives an impetus for the city of Cleveland Heights to get their act together.
And it is true that there would be those contingencies on completing the sale. That's sort of what we would have to include in the motion, because the 650 doesn't exist yet. I think the thing that Mr. Silverman is going for is the image that we want to portray on the 13th. And, you know, I'm right there with him in terms of what our message, I mean, what are we saying? Because I think about the field is going to be the first thing off the truck. And people are going to relate to how we're doing things based on, you know, how they feel about that. So, you know, I can feel the image issue, the image question, and the statement that we need to make. I don't, you know, I think if we're not ready to do it, which I think we're not ready. Let me say that. I think we ought to make sure of somehow making sure that we've got this conversation moving forward, because I think it's a significant piece. And I think even if we were, in the thing that we have to know and have to have in our heads, even if we were to say something on the 13th, we still are a year away. And the
Yeah,
potential
there's going to be
of-
porta potties on the 13th.
Right.
And the vast majority of people there are not going to understand, I mean, I don't know when we're going to make the announcement that these are not the real porta potties, or if we're going to say that like every 5 minutes to make sure that everyone keeps aware of it, or how we do that. But
Hey, I don't have an answer.
I understand. You're not writing that speech.
I'm saying we're in an interesting place. That's why we have communications. We've got people who know how to spin it, y'all.
That's award-winning communication.
That's right, award-winning communications department. We don't have a motion on the floor. I want us to acknowledge that. Do you want to make a motion?
I can make a motion.
You want to make one?
I got language already set to go.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that.
You know me. You should know the answer to that
Well,
question.
I'm not sure where I don't know that we could move this forward except to ask Mr. Chagallus to get us some renderings and bring them back to us.
I have a question about that. Personally, I don't feel the need for the renderings, because I believe the Welcome Center is a good thing. And I don't know what shape that's going to take yet, and I don't have to see it to know. Yeah, if I see a picture of it, I don't think I'm more likely to say, yes, let's do that.
Don't you need the cost?
He's looking at the
renderings
cost.
includes-
We wouldn't be able to make renderings for
No,
the
you
13th.
need a cost estimate.
Right.
Maybe do some estimates, I guess.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, the
what
cost
I'm
would be-
suggesting is it's very similar to any building project, right? So the first thing we would do is a program of requirements. What is it you want? What kind of spaces? How big? And then they would start to lay out schematic drawings, and then they would put estimates to that. There'd be a process. And it wouldn't take near as long as the high school, and we would accelerate that to get it up to where we are in the discussions of the overall high school as quickly as we could.
Steve, couldn't you use the one that O Sports did? That was you couldn't take that, and because that was, you couldn't just take those numbers, and why not?
I would not recommend that we work with those numbers.
Okay.
I think we need to get,
work back.
I think we need to take a careful look at what is it we want this building to be, what functions we want in that building, and then have the architect come up with a plan, and then have Gilbane set an estimate to it, a budget estimate to it in an orderly fashion. I think that's the right thing to do.
And is there any way for, I know you really can't answer that without getting what I'm going to ask, without getting all of those questions answered, but one of the other reasons I was intrigued by Eric's proposal was my belief that might help push up, that it might be able to be completed before the high school's completed, so we wouldn't need these temporary structures the entire 2 years.
I think that's a very valid point.
And those dollars are not budgeted for with the.
I think that's a very valid point.
Okay.
Yes, and hopefully, if we were to pull the trigger on this and move ahead, I think it would be a target that I would hope we could shoot for, to have it open for the fall of next year, a year from now.
Yeah.
That would really make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, that's the reason why, like I said, I'm keep modifying and thinning out my language from the specificity of it to make it so that it is pliable to get us basically an announcement on the 13th that gives us a lot of wiggle room. But basically the point being is that we're doing all these things at once, but more importantly that we're moving forward so that we can hopefully secure other funds for things that are going to be much more, actually more on the academic side, like the kind of study tables, because I know the athletic department said their donors were interested in things that are much more in an academic component versus the visitor services. So I think it gives us the ability to hopefully engage dollars that would allow us to not have to incur the expense of that we're looking for the temporary spaces. So that's why, again, I'm just trying to move the ball forward because we're playing against the clock.
We have made a commitment that we would look closer at our ability to work with some of our donors and raise money to do some finishing up of the high school, because that was always in our mind. I mean, the stadium. It was always in our mind that we would put half in and we would go out and raise the monies for the other half. And the problem that I have is I'm hesitant to get out in front of that process. You know, we talked about putting together a committee and seeing and kind of having that committee kind of work through what needs to happen in terms of the money. And then if we talk about the renderings and ultimately the programmer requirements and the schematic drawings and all that, we don't have a way at this point to have those merge tonight.
Well, the reality is in regards to the fundraising is making its sort of incremental movements towards getting up and running. From speaking with the superintendent and Sue Pardee, I was very much, and I stated to you previously, very adamant that we should name the structure, Severance Milliken, whatever. I was now willing to sort of move back from that because there was a possibility perhaps that somebody would want to have the naming opportunity on that. So I'm like, okay, hey, that's as much as I would prefer that. It's a matter of this isn't getting way ahead of that. This whole process, we need to be doing multiple track things at the same time. So the problem is we cannot look at this as in a linear fashion, because if we do it in a completely linear fashion, we don't have the luxury of the time. We have to be doing multiple tasks, multiple tracks at the same time. And again, this is one of a whole litany of fundraising opportunities and naming opportunities that we're looking at. Again, I can't reiterate enough that this allows us to do multiple things at the same time. I believe we can sanitize the language to give us the sufficient wiggle room that we need.
Okay. Well, we've had discussion, and I guess we can have further discussion. Do you want to try to make a motion relative to this tonight?
I have no I have no reservations to do that.
Well, I mean, I've given you my 2 cents worth. I don't know that a motion would go very far. I mean, I don't know. I guess we can hear what your motion.
I will read the language that I would, if I were to make a motion. This is like.
Well, I don't know that we. I guess I'm not. Okay, I'm not sure that that is helpful right now. But yeah, let's just do it, and I won't put my judgment on this one.
Okay.
Let's just hear it.
It would be to allocate the proceeds from the sale of Severance Milliken Elementary School to be spent on, I have a working title of Visitor Center at the renovated stadium. The building would house a concession stand, boosters booth, restrooms, storage, and a visitor's locker room if the budget allows. The building would have a plaque acknowledging the donation of land from Severance Milliken for the school, as well as usage of the proceeds from the building sale to fund the structure. And then the building would be designed to evoke, keyword evoke, the Severance Barn, ostensibly a red brick building with a hip roof. That's it.
That's a lot in a motion.
He just read it. He just read it. That's not his, he didn't move.
I didn't move.
But you know, Eric, I have stated my general support for this, and I stand by that. But I do think that based on what we're hearing tonight, there might be some components of that do shift over the next month or two, is my understanding. I want to move forward with this. I do want us to move forward with this general idea. But I am hearing my colleagues also, and appreciate your thoughtful questions and clarifications, that I think it makes more sense for us to take another step. before you officially go forward with it. And I know that's disappointing to you.
Well, I guess the polite way to put it is that previous comments or lack thereof, I don't have a time machine, so I can't go back and change what I would have done in the past. So,
Yeah.
you know, what are you going
You-
to do?
you
Well, I
can-
guess there are ways to remedy that, but not the way I would want. Well, I guess the question would then be, Mr. Shergalis, what do you need to get something going? What do you need from the board, and how soon can we, I mean, how soon could we have ballpark, and what do you need? And when can you have it?
Well, I think if the board simply gives the administration the direction to study this facility, that is sufficient to move forward. I will immediately get a hold of BSHM and start the process. I would have no idea tonight what kind of timelines we're looking for. But as I said, I think we would want to accelerate this process for two reasons. One, so that it can come to the board for consideration in the context of the overall high school decisions you're going to have to be making, but also in event we do pull the trigger, it can be done in such a way that we could have a shot at getting it open for the fall. So I think those are two good reasons to go as fast as we can in terms of getting you information.
Well, I personally am happy to approach it that way. What's your thought at this point?
I'm ready to,
I'm where Nancy is. I'm generally supportive of this idea. I love it, really. But I don't know that we should ignore what we're hearing.
I totally understand the concerns and the criticism. I have no problem, again, I have no problem going forward. You know, I can go forward with this. Yeah, if I understand how to count I know how to count to three. Barbara Hotchkiss taught me well. So, you know, if we need to spend some more time and effort to examine it.
I think we do.
But we need, my opinion is, I'm going to hammer on this. I'm going to keep coming back on this because we need to move on this as soon as possible.
And I would say, Barbara Hotchkiss notwithstanding, I like to count to 5.
I know you do.
Yes,
I know you do.
First of all, so that Dr. Dixon knows what we're talking about. Eric, just for the record, since I was probably, I wouldn't characterize anything that at least I said as a criticism. I actually think that you're,
I know.
I actually think that you're, the idea is a great idea. I think that it's both thoughtful and for all the right reasons. So, I mean, I think it's a really good idea. I think that Steve's methodology makes more sense to me.
I understand.
So, yeah, Barbara Hotchkiss was a past board member. Dr. Dixon just seemed
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Three out of five. Majority.
She asked, what did she learn in her term?
How to count to
She
three.
said, how to count to 3. So,
Okay.
but we could talk about that. But anyway, we'd like the administration to follow up on this and bring us something on this as quickly as possible. Okay?
Thank you.
Anything else?
Not under new business.
So what?
Not under new business, is it?
Okay, under new business. Nothing else, okay. What about board committee reports?
For the new me.
Does anyone else have any other committee? Okay. Facilities Accountability Committee. They had another meeting, they're moving forward, things are good. A couple areas of, like, the highlight reel, if you will, on sort of areas of concern and committees. The historic preservation, I know they've had a couple of meetings where they did an interior tour of the building, they're doing some exterior. There's sort of two, there's historic preservation, there's architectural, and then there's archival components. They're moving forward. And they're meeting with Bugatti tomorrow to figure out where they're going to put stuff. Community outreach has been trying to get a little bit more with that. Fundraising, they're pretty much waiting for that to kick in. CTE has been a regular one that they focused on, and sustainability, as always, has also been a big component. So those are sort of, there's 9 or 10 committees, but those are the ones that are sort of jumping out as far as bullet points. My other committee that was meeting was the Alumni Foundation. Who wants to be Vanna with holding?
Oh, I know Vanna.
Well, listen, the camera's better. We had a big sale at Convocation. We had a big sale at the Convocation at the high school on the 6th, a lot of merchandise. There's a sale this weekend. One of the items featured in the sale is this lovely woodcut. It's like QVC. This lovely woodcut of the new football stadium that honors past donations. So there'll be a lot of merchandise for sale at the football stadium on there. A lot of new items, new T-shirts, things like that. So the foundation's HeightsGear.com is moving forward with all their sales. Also, seat cushions for the seats for the stadium. A lot of requests for that. So that's what's going on with the alumni. And since we're still in committees, I also have a gift I'll give to Steve. When will we be having the bus component at Park Synagogue? When's that going in? In the fall. I have a mezuzah for the trailer. I'll defer to my colleague who's a member of Park Synagogue to explain what the mezuzah is. But we have a mezuzah for the door at the driver's building, so, which is not part of my committee assignment, but, so, those are my 2 committee assignments for this week.
I have one, Ron, and it just an upcoming, tomorrow night is the University Heights Technology Committee meeting, so I'll be attending that.
Does anyone else have committees, or am I the only one?
Mine doesn't meet in the summer.
Okay.
I know a lot
Calendar
less
committee
spring.
once a year.
Yeah,
Now, no wonder he wants that one.
He's got it made.
You should be in those rooms. It's vicious.
I can see that.
Well, yeah, I have committees, but they haven't met. The Lay Finance Committee is one of mine, and also the Business Advisory Committee. I guess you've gotten an update from the CTE, but I can tell you that we did invite the members from the other 2 districts that are in our consortium, and Cal and I have gone to meetings, and we're looking forward to engaging them more. But we had 2 meetings. One, it was just an, sort of introduction, what is career tech type thing, and we were talking among ourselves. The second one was we invited the state in. The state actually did some training with us, and it was pretty good in terms of, they talked to us a little bit about weighted funds, Perkins money, the selections that we had and that kind of thing. So really, Cal knows quite a bit about career technical education now, and they left the door open to work with us further. And our position, really, Cal and I, was to bring us together because the conversations have not taken place with the 3 of us sitting at the table. So we did manage to get 3 at the table. There were 2 board members from each of the districts. There was a superintendent. There was the CTE lead person from each of the districts. And then there were a few other people. It's like a parent decided that they were interested in this, and she came to a meeting. But we had a good, solid start in terms of that conversation, and we'll be looking to move that forward over the next couple of months. And one of the things that came out of that, and we might as well get ready for it, is the whole issue of the Business Advisory Committee. And we will be taking a good look at that, and probably will come back with some recommendations at some point. We haven't figured that out yet, but, so that's gone well. The other group that I'm responsible for is I'm a liaison to MSAN and academic achievement. I haven't really quite gotten my hands around the academic achievement, but when we had a Capitol conference, they asked for us to send our academic achievement person to the conference. And I went last year, and I just couldn't quite get my hands around, if there was an agenda or not. But I'm going to try to work hard this time and just try to figure out that role. I really think about it in terms of MSAN, and I don't know if you ever remember back when. There was a time when there was a fits and starts around having what they call a board assembly related to the Minority Student Achievement Network, and we never got anywhere with that either. So, I'm glad that I think we've had a bit of revival on MSAN. We commissioned Dr. Willis, Renee Cavor Willis, or Willis Cavor, what's her
Renee.
name?
That's Renee.
But-
Willis.
But she's Willis now, and she was a principal over at Monticello for a while in this district. And she has gotten a report out, and I believe Allison Bird is our chief person that's working on the Minority Student Achievement Network. I've been going to those meetings, and we have a report, and we're looking at, Dr. Dixon and Allison Bird are looking at some things coming out of that. And we have a really well-organized group of people that are sort of an advisory committee. I think maybe at least each of the middle schools and some people at the high school are involved in it. So that's happening.
Is there any news on the committee of the city and the schools about economic development? Any news on?
No, it's something that I haven't done much with. It's in our court, and we need to start thinking about how we want that. I think it's our committee. It's a situation where we need to talk about how to form that and how we invite them in, because it's our committee. So I would encourage each of us to start thinking about that more, and I haven't spent much time on it at all.
I'll resend you the notes I sent you.
Right,
Eric,
okay.
you called it on economic development.
Well, it was.
Building reuse.
You can't really have it be purely building reuse, because then you're only talking a couple of things. I think it has to be how the cities and the schools work collaboratively in regards to development issues.
I would love for that to be an ongoing group. My understanding from the conversation was that it was more related to reuse of the buildings. So let's bring that back to, I think it's an excellent point.
Right.
Let's bring that back to our next joint meetings, because I think that's a better conversation to have than,
I would agree too. And I think what that means is that we need to, are you willing to kind of shape this a little bit and further and maybe share it with us, and let's see if we can move it? You don't need to do it?
No,
You don't
I
wanna do it?
have no problem doing it. I'm fighting the temptation to say something, and I have to be.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Nancy.
God,
I
it's
didn't
so
want to
hot
say
here.
that.
I had to take. It's very hard for me. I will take care of it. I'll put
Well,
something together.
I think
And
that.
please just share it with Ron for now.
I guess
Not-
I will do that.
Not with the city yet.
Okay.
Well, you can share with Nancy too.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll share
It's
one
late,
sentence
I'm
with every
sorry.
member of the board. Then
Well,
you can put it together as a.
Yeah, I think.
I'll do it as a haiku. You know?
I'll work with you on putting it together.
Okay.
Anything else on the board committees? Correspondence and announcements. I want Dr. Dixon to tell us what she was doing at 1 o'clock on Saturday, this past Saturday.
In the morning or in the evening?
Oh, Saturday.
PM.
Oh, no, Saturday I was at the football game.
What happened?
We beat Akron Bookdale High School. Cleveland Heights did. So that was nice. Nice game. Second half, they just trumped them. Yes.
Do you have any personal attachment to?
Yeah, I taught there. That was the first school I taught at. My first 3 years of teaching was at Akron Bookdale, so I saw a lot of people I knew. So it was a good opportunity to watch that happen. And then Sunday afternoon, I had my first play date at Noble Elementary. So that was fun to meet the parents and students, and some interesting feedback on how well we're doing. And a lot of kudos to our teachers at Noble. A lot of kudos, yeah. So it was good. So, and they love our communications department. Yeah. So it was a really good experience. So thank you for whoever came up with the idea, Angie. That was great. So 2 great events.
Great. Anything else? September 13th, Cal?
You're the president.
Oh, jeez. I get this one wrong. On September 13th, we're going to have a ribbon cutting for the new stadium. And I think at like 2:30, we're going to have sort of this tailgate situation with the, 2 o'clock is when we can come in, I think, then sell
Tailgate
tickets.
actually starts at 2.
I would
2:30.
People
Does it?
should go to the district website
2.
next week, and they'll have all the details.
Okay,
And it'll be
that's
very
right.
easy to find.
Okay,
It's already up.
it's already up.
It's on the current.
Things begin at 2 o'clock. There's a whole afternoon of activities.
Right. something's happening at 2:30, something's happening at 3, something's happening at 3:45. But there's a whole agenda. There's a whole agenda that I think the real stuff starts around 2:30 or so, and we'll be introducing people. We have people coming from the 3 municipalities, I believe. We have former superintendents returning, and we have the 3 o'clock is the ribbon cutting ceremony. We're going to have our students representing our varsity sports dressed out and there as well. So it'll be good. Everybody come. That's September 13th at 2 o'clock. The only other thing is that we will have a game before we get to that game on the 13th. And I can't remember who we're playing, but we will have a game. Yeah, Strongsville, that's right. And I'm hoping that we can keep the momentum that we started in Akron going and take it to Strongsville, and we'll be ready on the 13th. So it'd be a nice thing to have a little victory celebration that day. The other thing is that I think, I'm not sure how we pay attention. I have a hard time just to question keeping up with our scores and stuff like that. I think we have a volleyball game going tonight. I bet I'm going to be challenged to find out who won tomorrow, and I don't know how we can get that information.
That Kristen Hughes tweets all of the games, so if you follow her on Twitter, that's a good way to do it. And also athletics, in particular on their new website, will have continuous updates too. The Twitter will, it'll be on their webpage.
Fantastic.
Okay,
So,
sounds
yeah.
good.
Tune in next week.
Okay. Anything else? I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.